not working. The tampon box is back. Well, I know you guys liked that. Welcome back to the Culty Cup of Coffee. This is episode 29. We are live. Let's put ourselves on live chat. I've been in a weird funk lately, so I apologize in advance. I've been doing some intense therapy and I think it's still affecting me. Hello Jen, hello Mary, hello Ella. Hello, Kaylee. Hello, Casey. Hi, Mary, Flinker Mary, Pamela, Vicky, Emma's here. Amber's here, Jackie's here, Alice is here, Caitlin's here. Hello, Emily. Hello, Olivia. Anastasia, Sierra, Karen, E.N. You made it. You made it. Long time watcher, first time joining the live. Episode 29. You're here. Mary, Gina, Paige, Sarah, Denise, Crystal. Wow, we got a lot of people. That was fast. We're growing fast. Were you guys just waiting? Jill, Ashley. Thank you, Emma. Don't apologize for putting yourself first or you can't even be here. Not that we're even bothered about that. You come first. Thank you. I definitely, I'm in the process of like rearranging things in this room and doing therapy and things have been like making me in a mental weird headspace. I don't know if you guys noticed with the like last Culty Cup of Coffee and then the last Culty Crew podcast episode, we talked about a little bit heavier things and I'm kind of talking about that stuff in therapy too, so I'm kind of, I guess, just going through the motions of all of that and like trying to heal from it. And part of me is like, how long does it take to heal from this stuff? But you can't really put a time stamp on healing, so I'm trying not to rush myself. Anyway, that's why I've been in a little bit of a weird headspace lately, and I know a lot of you guys have noticed. Thank you, Denise. You're so sweet. I got some coffee. Actually, Priscilla bought me some coffee today. It was sweet of her. Oat milk latte. You know I'm here if you need me. Hit me up if you need me. Oh, thank you, Crystal. Healing is a continuous process, girl. And that's the thing. Like, I had someone in a previous relationship, when I was going to like extensive therapy, they asked, you know, how long is it going to take you for you to be done with this? Like, how much longer do you have to be going to therapy? How long is it going to take for you to heal from this process? And I remember thinking, I don't know. I don't think there's you can't like walk into a therapist's office and say, hey, here's my trauma, so let's speed up the process. How do we get this done now? You know, it's just, if you go in with that mindset, you're not going to heal properly. So I'm trying to not rush the process, even though I would like it to be over now. Aw, thank you, Ashley. We've got your back and we don't judge you. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. Who's 29? Okay, Daniel. Number 29 is Deward John Peterson, born December 7th, 1918 to May 13th, 1996. So we have his tombstone. If you look in the corner right here, it says 29, because he was number 29 in the order. So there's a lot of notes on this one, so I'm going to read it off so I don't get anything wrong. So number 29 is Deward John Peterson, December 7th, 1918 to May 13th, 1996. Deward joined the order in 1937 at the age of 19, but left a few years later, and the reason is unknown. On April 11th, 1945, at the age of 27, he married his first wife. They lived in Salt Lake City over the next 15 years, having 4 children together. Deward worked at Kennecott Copper Mine I actually used to live by that. It's like by Western Kennecott Copper Mine. Anyway, he worked at the Kennecott Copper Mine and sold random items on the side. The marriage ended in divorce, and he became a bachelor for nearly a decade. He rejoins the order at some point, getting back the same number, number 29, and that he had before leaving. At the age of 53, he marries a woman. Do you guys remember me talking about the numbered man that has the last name Gustavson? Someone in that family. He marries her on April 5th of 1971, and so he's 53, right? And then they have 5 daughters from a previous marriage, and then will later have 4 more children together. Deward was known as the Orange Man. He sold his daily goal of $300 before quitting each night, so he would sell fruits. And $300 a day was a lot back then, so it made him very valuable to the order. But it also put him on Orville LeBaron's hit list. You guys remember who Orville LeBaron is? Last year in October, I did a creepy story from my cult segment in all of October, and there's one called The Blood Atonement. It talks about Orville LeBaron. He's from a different polygamous group, and they believed in the Blood Atonement, where basically, I mean, you can look it up. It's from Mormon doctrine, but the Blood Atonement is basically if you believe that someone is going to be sinning, like let's say they're going to be falling away from the church, like not going to church as much, not consecrating, not following God, then the Blood Atonement says that you can kill them to save them, like kill them before they sin so that they go to heaven without the sins on their hands. So you're protecting them from going to hell. So that's what Orville LeBaron believed in. So I guess Orville LeBaron didn't like him, or maybe thought that there was money that was, I don't know, competition, I guess. Deward was one of the 2 armed guards sitting in his fruit truck outside the old church building during Sunday services. He started living polygamy in the 80s by marrying 2 sisters. So these 2 sisters, there's a lot of rumors. I worked with one of these sisters though, and I remember thinking that she was not all the way mentally there. And remember how I've told you guys, I've made a video called What Happens to the Mentally Disabled Order Members. I talked about how even if they're mentally disabled, they will marry them to someone. If they can have kids, they're going to make them have kids, regardless of their mental state. So there's rumors that she was not all the way there, even from a younger age. And there's also rumors that Deward married her when she was 16 and he was 61. Very large age gap. There's more. I know you guys are commenting. I'm seeing the comments go up, but I don't want to lose my place on this, so I'll read your comments afterwards. So he marries the 2 sisters. Being a master steward meant that Deward received no interest on his statement, but he was doing well enough that he started donating his entire statement to the order at the end of each year and starting over fresh the next year. And at this time, Ortel was advising, This time Ortel was advising one of Deward's wives for government assistant, but as Deward got older, he had concern about his wives' well-being after his death. So basically he wanted his wives to be taken care of after he died. And so Ortel basically assured him that his wives would be taken care of. But Ortel died first, so his promise was forgotten pretty quickly. And at the age of 72, Deward married his last wife, which was, do you guys remember? This is going off of the other order history where we talked about when Hi Peterson died, then his brother married his wife. Is this ringing a bell? Anyways, at the age of 72, Deward married his older brother Hiram's widow. Deward dies a millionaire on May 13th, 1996 at the age of 77. And years later, his wives, so the one wife that he was mostly concerned about, moves into her daughter's house, and she's still there today. And her house was eventually sold for $410,000, but guess who got the money? I think you guys can take a wild guess at who got it and who didn't get it. And now Deward's other widows had started paying rent after he had passed away. So they're all paying rent. None of them got any of the benefits of him being a millionaire. But the leader of the order did. Anyways, I can show a picture of him. He did pass away, and it is public information. You can even Google his name. This is a picture of him. But yeah, a lot of interesting history on that one. And then when he died, his wives were, this was something that you guys were asking, like you guys were saying, so if a woman is too old to have kids and her husband dies, what would be the point of marrying them off again? And I remember telling you guys, like, I don't know why they would do that or if they do that, but so in Deward's case, so remember the wife that I said, he married his older brother's wife. So his older brother dies, he marries her, takes her on as like a third or fourth wife, whatever. Marries her, then he dies. Then they marry her off to one of Paul's brothers. So she goes from this husband to this husband to this husband. And so I was talking to someone about that, and I was like, that's interesting because by the time she's on her last husband, I don't think she even could have kids. So what would be the point of passing her from man to man to man? And we were discussing it, and the person was saying that a woman needs to tie into someone. They can't just be roaming around. They have to, when their husband dies, that's the person who they're supposed to be tying into. That's the person that is the one above them. So when they die, then who did they tie into? So they need to be married to someone so that they can tie into that person. That's kind of the concept that the person was talking to me about. Obviously, I wasn't married in the order and had my husband die, so I can't tell you for my own experience, but from this order history, I'm learning more and more that the women who can't even have kids still get given to other men. Kind of like, it's almost like they have to have that as their ticket to heaven. They have to have a man bringing them to heaven because they're not capable of doing it themselves. Does that make sense? But then there's also the stories of women who their husband dies and they're in their 40s, so there's still a potential chance of them having a ton of kids, right? Or at least one more kid that they could be bringing down this soul from heaven to the earth. So there has been stories, and if you guys have been watching my previous episodes, we talked about that one girl who was 47 when they married her off again and she had her last kid. So I think there's a mixture of reasons why they just have to have the women married to men. And I was also contacted by someone, and they did say that there are some women in the order. So remember how we were talking about how there's classes for single men in the order over 18, and so it's kind of like Eskel was talking about how it's like how to be a priesthood holder, da 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 da. There are classes for women who are 18 and older that are single, but it's like the smallest class ever. It's definitely not as big as the men's class. It's probably like a few women, because most women get married before they're 18. Anyway, I think I covered most everything. I hope I did. Any questions? Since Amanda, have you thought about reaching out to Jordan and McKay? Jordan is a trained social worker in Bountiful and is aware of the order. Talking to her may help shed more light on the new order, how the order uses social services to abuse members. So actually, Jordan and McKay and me have had conversations back and forth, and we're talking, this is supposed to be a surprise, you guys, but we are talking about doing an episode together. Just so you guys know. But that's the thing is, Jordan and McKay are in Utah, so we have to work it out to where we can all be together in one place. They want the woman around as a servant. I think that it's not a secret that wherever the order can take advantage, they will. Wherever the leadership can take advantage, they will. And I mean, you've seen it over and over again. We've heard of wives paying their husband's rent, children paying their husband's rent. Um, you know, the wives getting on food stamps, and my own dad had my mom put a fake name on my birth certificate to say that my dad's Kyle Grant so that he doesn't have to pay child support. Like, there's so much stuff. It's like, as much as they can take advantage, they will. And who are the ones suffering the most? Sadly, the women and children. Did COVID affect people leaving the order? Leaving the order? I don't know about leaving, but in the order, they kind of just acted like COVID didn't really exist. Like, when that mask mandate happened, like, a lot of order businesses didn't even wear masks. And, I mean, the leader's oldest brother died of COVID, but COVID wasn't really a big deal in the order. And they are definitely anti-vax, for sure. Well, none of us got shots. You guys know this, right? When I left the order, like, I hadn't had any shots in my system. I had never had, like, the tetanus shot. I never had, I don't know, all those shots that babies get. Like, none of us were born really in the hospital, so we didn't really have any shots. And then I did go to a public school for 2 years. Well, a little over 2 years. And there was a time where everyone was getting the flu shot, and I had to fill out this piece of paper that said, for religious reasons, I'm not getting the shot. So, how did Eskel's interview go with an order member? Which one? I know he interviewed 2 order members, and then one of them asked him to take the video down because after like 2 hours of it being up, then I don't know exactly what happened, but he was like, please take it down. I'm assuming he got harassed by order members. How did your hair grow so fast? It's way longer than... Really? Is it? I don't think it is. It's still like shoulder length. But thanks. I've been taking vitamins. Hi, Amanda. Hope you're well. Oh, thank you, Nicole. I hope you are well, too. Have you gotten your shots now? You still can. I worked at this company that required shots. So I did get, like, the basic ones. I don't know. I'm not very well educated on that stuff because, for obvious reasons, right? Because I came from a cult. I mean, you guys, I came from a cult that, like, I still have, like, fear about getting vaccinations and shots and stuff. Like, I still am afraid of that stuff because of what I was trained in the order to believe. I'm working through that in therapy too. But, I mean, I was raised in a cult where there was so much fear in, like, modern medicine and, like, hospitals and things like that I literally, when I got my wisdom teeth removed, they gave me, like, pain medication and antibacterial medication, and I was so scared to take the pain medication that I threw it in the toilet. Like, I didn't take any pain meds. I just, like, suffered through the pain because I was so paranoid about it. And the same goes for, like, I tried to go to college and get, like, education on things because I knew that there were certain things that I was lacking. And I think you guys have heard us talk about this. I think it was on Escaping Polygamy. Somewhere, someone talks about how they had to help rip out the pages of the history books, pages of the science books, like wherever evolution was, they had to rip those out. I even heard that there was a girl helping rip out pages in a health book, and obviously, like, anatomy of our bodies, they would rip anything out that they thought was inappropriate, and then any pages that had anyone that wasn't white. Like, you know how in a health book they'll have, like, pictures of kids together, like, you know, as science experiments or whatever. Any pictures of anyone that is a different race, they would have them rip them out. So, yeah. But yeah, evolution, like, I didn't really know much about the World War II and Hitler because the order is very similar to how Hitler's mindsets were. Like, not saying that we should kill everyone, but that, you know, Hitler wanted us some type of race, right? This supreme race. And so does Paul. Paul believes that his race and his bloodline is pure, direct descendant of Christ. So my first time hearing about the World War II and Hitler was in public school. Is your hair naturally straight or wavy or curly? It's straight. This is kind of like from a crimper the other day. It's very straight. I'm not sure you've answered this, but how do you feel about Roe v. Wade being overturned? I have a lot of, I don't want to talk too much about this subject because I know that a lot of people get very invested in it. I think that I would feel more comfortable talking about that on my Patreon. Even like vaccines, I don't like talking about the COVID vaccines and stuff because like and again, like I came from a cult too, so I have a lot of, not that I don't trust my own judgment, but I just feel like I almost feel like I have to overthink and overanalyze why I believe what I believe, because I feel like just like what I'm saying, like I have this fear of vaccinations and shots because my whole 17 years of being in a cult, they put it in my brain that doctors want to hurt us basically. And so I sometimes don't even trust my own judgment on, or I just have to ask myself, why do I believe this? Is it really because I believe this and I did my research, or is it because I have paranoia from a cult, you know? So I don't know. Maybe we'll discuss it on Patreon. I really am missing my Patreon live stream, so whoever wants to go live tonight, let me know on Patreon, because I'm down. I hope the order member Eskel interviewed is okay. I really do pray for everyone's safety. Yeah, I think they're okay. I think it was more of like a, he didn't realize that there was going to be a backlash. But I think it was a good experience for him to go through that. Whether he likes it or not, I think he learned a lot from it. Hi Amanda, are you back in Utah? Sorry about abortion laws. I'm not in Utah, no. Utah, so I guess it's in the state's hands, right? Like if abortion's legal or not, it's state by state. And Utah obviously is one of the ones that made abortions illegal. The insider's dad got pissed off and told him to take it down, was the story I heard. Well, I heard that his dad asked to have a meeting with him. Like his dad is Paul Kingston, and he like never really talks to his dad because his dad has 27 wives, and then all of a sudden after he goes live with Eskel, like, meeting, let's have a meeting. And he was talking like he thought his dad was going to be very proud of him for how he was speaking about the order. And I'm sure after his meeting with his dad, Paul, he probably doesn't feel the same way. Oh, sorry. I switched this to live chat, but every time I refresh, it goes back to top chat. So I'm back on live chat now. Hi, Rochelle. If you talk to a doctor, they can help you figure out what shots you still need, if any. I understand having fear around it, though, given the circumstances. Yeah, I definitely, and this is the crappy thing, is I still, like, I'm still learning, like, what's a normal amount to go see a doctor, what's a normal amount to like, take care of those types of things, because that wasn't something that was, like, number one for us in the order. And we had order doctor, too, and that order doctor prescribed comfort, so it was like, okay. Science is real. Tell that to the order members. They don't think, well, I'm not going to speak for all of them, but a lot of them don't think evolution is a real thing, and a lot of them think that inbreeding does not cause birth defects. Like, I have had fights, not physical fights, but like verbal arguments with some of them being like, there's no evidence that says that there's birth defects that come with close related marriages. That's just what the government wants you to think. I'm like, why? Okay, whatever. A lot of people seem to forget Nazis were Christian based, unfortunately. Isn't that crazy? It's kind of crazy that, like, most of the wars happened due to religious beliefs. It's like this loving God, right? Like, what a loving God to create. Not saying that God created all these wars, but humans made this idea that God wanted them to kill for them. Just like the blood atonement. Like, God wants me to kill you because you're not doing what he wants. It's like, wait, what? How do we ruin everything? Hi from the Netherlands. Hello, Toro. You're allowed to have private options. We all are. Yeah. Shout out from New Zealand. Hi, Mary. I know this is off topic, but I always thought you were naturally curly. Really? Do I have like more videos with curly hair? My hair is very straight. Amber's down for Patreon. Okay, we're gonna do Patreon tonight. If you haven't subscribed to my Patreon, I'll leave the link down below after this live is over. I might have to leave soon. I'm not sure what time I need to get my grandparents from the airport. Oh, okay. Okay, Crystal, tell your grandparents I say hi. I can see why it would be hard figuring out what the order makes you believe and what you believe. You're definitely taking the steps to find your own beliefs. And yeah, that's something that I talk about it in my divorce video. It's something that I didn't even realize for a long time, that I was still living like the cults. I didn't even realize that I was still in the chains of the order, because I mean, kind of, we all do that to ourselves. We're raised a certain way, we have a certain belief system, and then we go off and be our own individual person, and a lot of the decisions we end up making, we don't realize are the same as what we were raised to be, you know, or believe in, which isn't bad. If you're taking the good parts, that's fine. Like if I'm taking the good parts of the order and leaving the rest, but there was things that I was taking from the order that was really holding me down, like the fear of change, the fear of doctors, the fear of new ideas, the fear of outsiders, the fear of, you know, any decision you make based on fear, you should ask yourself why. Don't make a decision based on fear. Hello, Natalie. Oh, yeah, his dad is Paul. He says that his dad is Paul and has 27 wives. Eskel asked the insider that on the interview. I know that it was deleted too, so a lot of people didn't get to see the whole thing, but the insider that was on Eskel's channel that got deleted was Paul's son. Aw, Ruby. Maybe I can do another live tomorrow on Patreon too. Mary's birthday's coming up. Happy birthday, Mary. Comfrey. Look up the plant comfrey. You're not supposed to eat it. Do not eat comfrey. I am not from a cult, but shots and pain medications can be scary. You never know how your body will react. Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's like, I think I just gotta do my research. You know, there's tons of research all over the internet, and there's more natural medicines that you can do if you're afraid of the more harsh stuff, I guess. Is Paul, Daniel, Jesse, and the other men in charge still marrying new women? I heard that the youngest one got married recently to like a young girl. And then I also heard that one of the other brothers was trying to marry a really young girl. So, but that's the thing, is I'm not in the cult, so, and it's like their weddings are very hush-hush. Like, I remember when Paul married his niece, I was in the order, and I remember the niece all of a sudden had like a wedding ring, and she used to babysit me. So I always wondered, like, who did she marry? And I didn't get invited to the wedding. Like, no one. It was like such a secret. No one knew who she was married to. And I asked who she was married to, and like she didn't answer. It was so weird. And then one day I was working at the office, and I saw Paul shake her hand. And I was like looking at her and looking at him, like the way they were, it's so weird. Me and Priscilla were talking about this the other day. The way Paul shakes like a normal person hand, and then the way he shakes his wife's hand, it's like so gross. And as an order member, you can tell the difference. But so I watched his niece, my babysitter, shake Paul's hand in front of me, and by the way that they were looking at each other's eyes and the way they were really longly holding each other's hands, I knew she married him. So my point of this whole story is, I think there's a lot of secret weddings that go on, but like they can't be secret forever, because then this woman starts having kids, and then people are like, who are these kids' father? You know, they can only keep it a secret for so long. I mean, I don't even remember. I don't think I went to my dad's wedding, to the third wife. I didn't even know he had a third wife. I didn't know he married his sister till I was a lot older. Hi, Elizabeth Dawn. That shows how influential you all are within the order if Paul requests a meeting, which is terrific because change happens one member at a time, one mind at a time. That's a good point. I know that my video about Paul talking about in that meeting about how to get your wife pregnant with a female, with a daughter, because the order needs more girls, that video caused so many people to question and have meetings with Paul. Like, people were upset because here's what a lot of people say. They say, Amanda's just a liar. Amanda's just lying. Don't believe anything she says. Everything she says is a lie. But then that was a recording of Paul saying things, like Paul's voice. And people went to that meeting, so there was no denying that Paul said it. So they could say I'm a liar all they want. They can call me a liar and call me a liar, but the evidence is there. So that one was a really... They tried to take that one off my YouTube. It's still there, though, if anyone wants to watch it. The reason why that one caused such a stir, which I wondered why that one caused, it almost seemed like that video caused more of a stir than the one where, do you guys remember the video of Paul breaking the order standard with the girl? Going to a school dance with her? Because that's against order standards, and the leader himself did it. I thought that one would cause more of a stir. People said I was editing the photo. People said that Paul never was there. So I guess that one was easier for Paul to lie his way out of. But the recording of that meeting, and there was witnesses of the meeting that were in the order, there was no denying that. And I guess that one was more upsetting because members were like, if we are this true church of the Lord, Heavenly Father's church on earth, and so Heavenly Father's directing us on who to marry, Heavenly Father's directing us, and we're having Heavenly Father's children, why are we having a meeting on how to have female children? If it is the Lord's will, then we will have female children. Why is Paul telling us how to basically have sex so that there can be a more likely chance of a female baby? So I guess that one was like the most, from what I'm hearing, was the most like controversial video that I had made, to the point of them trying to take it off of my YouTube. And that's when like YouTube was not flagged me, but they were telling me that my video was under review because someone reported it. But it's still up because it was a public meeting. He's a public preacher. What time tonight on Patreon? I need to live with everyone. So I'm still like rearranging everything. As soon as I can get my stuff done, I want to go live on Patreon. So when are you available? Breaking the patterns of your childhood is really hard. Yeah, and I think that as long as you're aware and you're asking yourself, like, when you're making decisions, like, is this because it's actually me? Is this actually going to make me happy? Or is this just a pattern that I have been in this cycle for my whole life and I don't know why? It's okay to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. It's healthy, I think, instead of just, oh, this is just the way it is. I hate traditions. I hate when people say, it's tradition. I'm like, why do you do that for hundreds of years? It's just tradition. Well, that's silly. There has to be a reason. I saw the interview and that makes so much sense. He was so desperate, so represent the order well and please his father. Oh yeah, of The Insider, definitely. How's Priscilla and when is the part 3 coming out? Priscilla's doing good. I think she's planning on filming some more, I don't know, you're gonna have to ask her. I know that I've talked with her about what she wants to do with her channel, but I want her to be able to be the one to answer those questions, just because I don't want to say anything for her, and then, you know, maybe she changed her mind or something. I seen your video about the blood atonement, and I never forgot about the story that someone placed a bomb in a vehicle of a family that was trying to leave. That was crazy. Yeah. And I had heard that from a member who left the LeBaron group and joined the order. And, like, of course, they're like, oh my gosh, the order is so great because the order is not putting bombs in cars. So, of course, it seems better. But literally, as she was telling me, she's like, I'm so grateful to be in the order. And I was like, girl, I'm trying to get out of here. Like, yes, it's better than the LeBaron group, but oh my gosh, it's so repressing for women. Just curious if more people are leaving the order than the past. Oh, yes. Does social media and the internet bring to light more scandals, and how hard was it to find out info from being on the inside? Yeah, so I think that it's maybe the show Escaping Polygamy, and then also seeing all of our lives out here, that we're still happy, living our best life, you know? There's definitely struggles when you leave. It's not easy, and what a lot of people don't talk about, which, well, they do talk about it, but I wish that people would talk about more, the struggles of leaving a cult. I remember when I was struggling, of course the order's like, ha ha ha, pointing a finger at me, like, look at her, she's struggling. But a lot of the struggles was because I came from a cult, was because I was in a cult before and didn't know how to adjust to the outside world. So my struggles were because of the order. And it's hard to, like, talk about it and to make people understand, but the best way that I feel like I can describe it is it's like, it's kind of like, have you guys ever heard of, this is probably a bad analogy, but there's some prisoners that will leave prison, and then they were in prison for so long and used to that prison life that they don't even know how to adjust to being on the outside, so they want to go back. And it sounds so weird, but a lot of people leave the order and they don't even know how to make decisions for themselves because their whole life decisions were made for them. They don't know how to function on the outside because the whole life they've been on the inside. They don't know how to apply to jobs because their whole life the jobs have been given to them. They don't know how to make a good social life because their whole life their social life was the order. So it's such a, when you see someone who can just thrive on the outside, like, that's why I admire Jessica so much, because when I met her, I had just recently left the order, and I would, like, be like, oh my gosh, like, she knows herself, she knows her worth, she respects herself, she's going places, she knows what she wants with her life, she has a stable relationship, she has a stable mind. And I wanted those things, and I was like, how is she getting all of that? Because I feel like I'm dying. But at the same time, I never wanted to go back to the order. I never was like, maybe I should give up and go back. Never. Because I remember every day, and I was having nightmares every night of what it was like. So I was not going to give up my freedom just because it was hard to find myself. And I think everyone goes through that process of having a hard time finding yourself, because just like that, we all were raised in a normal, you know, this is the normal, whether it be your family or this society or this community, that's your normal at one point. And once you become an adult, you have to start questioning, is this normal what I want to be my normal? And I think that's healthy. You need to ask yourself if this is making you happy. I know that a lot of people want to be like, well, this is my family, so I have to put up with this for my family. I have to do this for my family. I have to live my life for my family. But you are the one living your life, not your family. You are the one that has to make those decisions to make you happy. You can't be living your life for other people, because, again, your life is not other people's lives. It's your life, and you're the one that has to go to bed in your bed every night. You have to live with the decisions that you've made. So make decisions that will make you happy. I know that order people will watch that and say, oh, well, that's being selfish. You're saying live your life only for yourself. No, I'm saying if someone says you should marry this person, or you should do this, you should do that, it's easy for someone to tell you to do that. It's hard to go live that, you know? Why are you letting someone else make those choices for you? You can live your life helping others. You can live your life being kind to others, supportive of others, but ultimately you need to be the one making those lifelong decisions for yourself. You need to be asking yourself, will this make me happy? Order people just love to twist my words, so I feel like I dread sometimes getting on these lives, because I know order people are going to be like, okay, how can I twist this to make Manda look bad? It's like, why are you guys still watching me if that's all you do? it's like I don't know. I remember though being an order person being like, how can I like hate someone? Like, cause I just loved to hate, like envy, jealousy. Like it's funny how the Lord's kingdom had so much of that. Just curious if more people are leaving. Oh, sorry. That's what the last one. So, I was doing the math, and there was 7 order people that I know of that left just in the past few months. And I remember there being like 1 a year when I first left. So 7 people in the past few months, that's a lot. And I do think a lot of it has to do with them being able to have access to the internet and being able to see, oh, wow, you know, these things that they tell us about the outsiders being miserable and being on drugs and being so upset and sad with their lives. That's not necessarily true. Maybe there's some lies that are being spread or some rumors, you know, because when I was in the order, I heard a lot of rumors about Colleen, Chanel, Jessica, Andrea. I heard rumors about everyone that left overnight, and it almost felt like they had to be lies because of how crazy it was. Like they had a good standing and then all of a sudden trash, you know, overnight. But because of social media, you can actually go check in on them and be like, are they on drugs like they say? Are they, you know? And you can even message them. You have a way to contact them now, whereas back in the day, they're just gone forever. And all you hear is what the order says. LDS faith crisis due to polygamy, Joseph Smith. How do you get past the anger once your eyes are open? You're talking to me? I don't like to be angry at anyone, but lately, I'm going to be honest, I have had a hard time in therapy not being angry with my dad. Like lately, I've been doing a lot of therapy because of I keep hearing the things that my dad says about me and the things that my dad has been doing to my siblings, and it just frustrates me. When a lot of people in the order are like, why is Amanda keep talking about it? That is why, because it's still happening. The cycle is continuing, and if I stop talking, it's like the best thing we can do is to keep talking about it and hopefully raise more awareness about it. He shook her hand, how romantic, right? It's like the most action that Paul's wives get is a handshake. Just kidding. That was a joke. Sometimes people like to take my jokes in the order and run with them. You guys want to... Okay. I know I keep feeling like I have to clarify. I need to just stop because I'm not making these videos for the ones in the order who just love to hate me. But sometimes I feel like I just have to keep clarifying because I get so many messages from order members being like, oh, but, you know, this is da-da-da-da. And I was like, I didn't say that! But that's what happens when you have a public platform, right? And that probably happens in every public platform. Mine will happen probably more often because I'm talking about cult members and people who are still brainwashed and denying that they're in a cult. So I did want to mention this because I really would love for anyone in David's family to, my DMs are open. I know that a lot of David's family watch my channel. And I've had David's family messaging me. So, for those of you who don't know who David is, the biggest case in the order, right, was when David went to prison for raping his niece. His niece pressed charges, he went to prison, and he got out. He's out of prison now. He got out of prison for marrying his niece, and then guess what he does? He marries his niece, another niece. So, we all heard this story. I talked about it on the website. My cult has a website video. So David was in prison for, I want to make sure I say this right. David Kingston in prison. 4 years. I was going to say 4 years, but so I don't want to be inaccurate. So he was in prison for 4 years. During those 4 years, his wives were getting pregnant. Does anyone want to explain that? His wives were still having his kids while he was in prison. Crystal says, that person on your YouTube comments tried to convince me that you were a liar. But like I told her, I got your back and I would always stand with you. Aw, Crystal, you're gonna make me cry. It shocks me that order members will will say that I'm lying, but then they won't have any evidence to back it up. It's like they don't think past that. I almost feel like it's because the mindset's in the order. Like, I remember when someone that was higher up would say something, then I would just believe it. Like, oh, okay. Because your mind just believes things. Because when you're brainwashed and you're bred and raised to be this brainwashed person, you believe things. So man is a liar. Okay, that's enough evidence. What about all of the truths I've said? Every single numbered man, that's in order history. That's all truth. 29 is Deward. 9 is Paul. We all know that. 8 is Ortel. So I guess what they do is they believe the things that they want to believe and not the things that they don't. Interesting. And then they try to tell outsiders that I'm a liar. And then when someone like Crystal's like, okay, I don't believe you, then they're like, well, I tried. That's all I got. Like, tell me where I've been lying, and let's have a conversation about it. I saw that one about conceiving daughters. I'm sure so many people in the order watch you and Eskel but hide it. Doesn't matter as long as they start thinking about things. Right. And that's the thing is, at the end of the day, the main point of making these videos is to spread awareness and to hopefully help the ones in the order to realize that they're not alone. But I also am not going to stand for them harassing me. Or, I don't like them harassing each other, but I definitely won't like them harassing me because there's a reason I left. But I'm here, and I know that a lot of people will look at me in the order as this, what's the word? So it's like, it's bad if you leave the order, but it's worse if you bash the order. Like, protect the order. And if you guys listen to my podcast, the episode with Michelle, it's like, it doesn't make any sense why I would sit here and protect the order and the people that abused me my whole life when they wouldn't even protect me while I was in the cult. Why would I protect them while I'm out here? What do I owe them? When I left, I was drug under the mud. I was the worst person ever. And if I sit here and protect them, I'm stupid. Sorry, I am. If I'm sitting here protecting these people who gave me so much pain in my life, and yes, they hold my family as leverage, but they're going to do what they're going to do. And if I sit here and let my life be controlled by the order still, why? Why should I do that? Sorry, I feel like I'm not in as much of a jokey mood or uppity mood, lady. I'm not an uppity lady. Because of my therapy. I'm hoping that it starts to change over these next few weeks, but it's been therapy's been a bitch, you guys. Going through these emotions and forcing yourself to revisit these memories, that are bad memories, it's a good thing to be able to heal from them, but it's also no one wants to keep thinking about the trauma over and over and over and over and over again. Unless they're healed from it, which I apparently am not. It's kind of like what Jacob said, Heavenly Father to talk to his mother by putting a tracker on his backpack. Exactly, right? Okay, perfect. 7:30 or 8 Eastern time. Okay, I can do that. Paul obviously doesn't know science. You can't... Well, Ruby, here's the thing. I researched it because I was like, is there a way to impregnate your wife and have a higher chance of it being a daughter? And I researched it, and there's actually some evidence that says it's not 100% foolproof, but there's websites that talk about a higher chance because the male sperm is faster than the female sperm. So if you go on a specific day, and then the egg's not there yet, and so then the male sperm dies, and then the female sperm... Does this make sense? Am I crazy too? I don't know. When he was talking, I was like, this actually makes sense, so I'm going to Google it. And I Googled it, and he was... From the internet, what I Googled on the internet, he was accurate. But again, there's no way that there's even a 90% chance. It's probably a 20 or 30% higher percentage. I don't know. Is the LeBaron group AUB? No, the LeBaron group is actually in Mexico. So they are the only polygamous group that I know of that has people from Mexico. Like the majority of the group is Mexico. And I know there was some white people because the girl that joined the order was white, but it's like a mixture. And Ervil LeBaron took it over, but I think Joel LeBaron was the brother who originally, and this is the story of every polygamous cult that I hear. It was better when Joel LeBaron was the leader, you know, just like the order was better when Ortel was the leader, and just like the FLDS was better when Rulon was the leader. Who knows how true all that is, but I do know that Ervil was crazy, and he was responsible for like 25 people's deaths, and he did physically kill people, even his own family. But he had his followers do his biddings for him. And he is ultimately, he's not AUB, he's the one responsible for the AUB leader dying. So he told one of his followers, two of his wives, I believe, they were girls, they killed the Jessup leader of the AUB group. You can research this. And there's the whole, you can watch the interviews on why the women did it, and they felt really bad later, but they were really young and they wanted to please God, and they killed him. They shot him at his office. I think he was a dentist. But yeah, so not the LeBaron and the AUB group were like rivals. Ervil did not like the AUB group. Oh, I don't think he liked any group that was not his group, because he believed he was God's true church and that the other groups were leading people astray. And that's ultimately why I believe he killed his brother Joel, because he believed that Joel was going to lead the group astray, so he killed him. I believe. I'll have to go back and watch my video. I do so many videos and I do so much research, and then when I'm done with the video, I like throw the information out because I have to put new information for the next video. So it's like, that's why when I'll be like, do you guys remember that one episode? And I'll have to like think really hard about what it was I talked about in that one, because it's like so much information, so much research, and then as soon as I'm done, I will literally like throw away my notes. Done with it. It's like when you go to school and you have a project and you're studying, and then when you're done, you like forget everything because you like don't have to remember that anymore. Especially because I don't have to remember it because it's on my YouTube. I can go back and like, you know, if I want to go verse myself, I can go look at it. Amanda, how many of your friends have left the order since you left? Also have siblings who left. So Priscilla was one of my first friends actually that left. Me and Priscilla were pretty close when we were younger. I was really close with her older sister, and I remember hoping one day that she would leave, but she got married in the group. But yeah, so Priscilla left. Me and Michelle actually weren't friends in the order. I wasn't really close with any of Jesse's kids or really David's kids. I was friends with one of David's kids. I was mostly friends with my dad's brother's kids and close friends. But I knew of Michelle. I worked with Michelle and her sister at the office. Not in the same room. Sometimes I would go back in the money room and I would see them. I wasn't like sitting next to them all day. LaDonna actually was my friend in the order. We were getting really close towards the end of my time being in the order, and I left and I didn't tell her because I was worried that, you know, I was being judged so much by my other friends already, and so I was scared to tell her. And so when I left, I didn't know, but she wanted to leave too, and she's like, why did you leave me? So she left years later. She ended up marrying the guy that I was supposed to marry. We were supposed to be sister wives pretty much, but I got out of there. So we got LaDonna, Priscilla. Me and Michelle weren't really friends until after she left, so there's that. And then Allison, me and Allison weren't very close, but we did sit on the school bus, and it took us to school, and we would sit by each other. And I remember she had the cutest blue eyes, so she's a lot younger than me. Well, not a lot. I remember thinking she was a lot younger than me because on the bus she was this cute little girl, and I was like, I was also a little girl too though, but older than her. So Allison leaves. I mean, obviously I have way more friends in that probably don't consider me their friends anymore, but in than out. It's always cool to have one of my friends' siblings leave, and then I'll meet up with them and ask them, so how are they doing? Because I don't get to talk to them, so the most I get to hear is like what the siblings who leave tell me. And then I do have some people in the group that still do talk to me, but it's like a weird relationship. It's like I feel like I can tell that they'll talk to me and then they'll go to this phase of feeling guilty for talking to me because I'm this terrible person. So it's hard to have a relationship with someone who thinks you're not a good person or at least is conflicted on how they feel about you and how God feels about you. So it's kind of hard to be close with anyone who's like that. But yeah, I've had like 3 friends leave. It's funny, I call some of them friends and some of them just cousins because Your cousins can be your best friends. You know those cool cousins, and then those cousins that are like, ooh. And then those cousins that wanted to marry you, and you're like, ugh. But yeah, and then I have Cami, Amanda, Rachel, Eskel are all of my moms that have left. And then, actually, the one from the first wife, who's the same, we were born the same year, he left too. He left around the same time that I left. I think a little later than I left, but he left and ran away to Hawaii when he left. And then we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think there's 3 or 4 of the first wives that left. But there was kind of a rivalry with my mom's family and the first wife's family because they were sisters. There's competition. When the first wife would go on a trip, then my mom would get jealous and want to go on a trip. If my mom got a new car, then she would want a new car, you know. And there was this like fight to always like, they had to sit next to my dad all the time at church, and the third wife was just like whatever, you know. So yeah, it was an interesting upbringing for sure. I had a family member recently say, why do you have to tell all this stuff about our family and air our family business on the internet? And I was like, well, if you didn't have anything to hide, it wouldn't be a problem. Am I right? Like, I talked about my divorce. I'm a pretty open book because I don't feel like I have anything to hide. And even Jessica, like, people asked her, like, did you bully people? And she was fine with addressing it. Like, I think everyone should be fine with addressing if they have issues, if they have skeletons in their closet, then why? Why do you need to be shady? Why do you need to hide stuff? If you're ashamed of what you're doing, you should think about why you're doing it. My cult was a lot different than yours, but there's some stuff that is still with me. Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think that you'll always have a piece of your childhood, obviously, because we were all children at one point, and our childhood kind of follows us into the adulthood. But you'll always have a piece of that, but you can try to take the good and do therapy to get rid of the bad. To try not to repeat those cycles. If you want to have kids one day, you don't want to repeat those cycles of abuse, right? I thought the LeBaron group was in Mexico. Yeah, so I'm a little confused. I think that it actually was Salt Lake, and then they moved to Mexico, and then they got kind of involved with the cartel. Am I wrong? I'll have to research that again. Any thoughts on Sister Wives, the TV show, and did Order members watch shows like that? My dad actually liked that show back in the day. I don't like Sister Wives. I don't like that. I mean, in the very beginning, I've only watched like 2 episodes, but I remember them talking about living polygamy as if it was a consensual choice. But obviously, they're from the AUB group. It was a religious thing. It wasn't just I just want to have another wife to have more love. No, it was because you're part of the AUB group and they believe that you have to have polygamy to live polygamy to get into the celestial kingdom. I don't like TV shows that are based on lies. Nasty AF, marrying a family member, way too many risks. Wow, I feel like I'm trying to catch up, so I'm sorry. I'm backed up on the comments, but I'm trying to read them all. Anyone else looking forward to the Mormon Stories episode this week with the guys from Growing Up in Polygamy? Oh, I love the Growing Up in the Polygamy channel. You're talking about Melissa and Sam? Amanda, you have such a level head on your shoulders. Don't let anyone dull your shine. Oh, thank you, Nicole. You're so sweet. I'm trying. I'm trying not to let them dull my shine. Hi, Amanda. Love your cute haircut. Thank you. I have a hat on today because my hair is a little bit dirty. What is this? Cody Brown's nephew is going to go on a podcast at some point, but don't know what one or if anyone knows. I don't know. If he wants to go on my podcast, let him know. He can. Because they're jealous you have the courage to leave and stand up for yourself. That's the thing is, I know that if I were to be like, you're jealous, then they'd be like, no, I'm not. But I remember when I was jealous in the order, I didn't know I was jealous. I just hated certain people that were like pretty and like, it was jealousy. I'm not saying they're all jealous of me, but maybe they should think about why they hate watch, you know? What's the real reason? You guys are giving them the confidence to escape and see through the lies. That's what I'm hoping. And I'm really hoping that the ones that are hate watching are at least learning something from this. You can hate me all you want, just do your research on some of the stuff that I tell you. If you're questioning if I'm lying or not, do your research. Anger isn't a bad emotion, especially in the face of so much normalized abuse. That's the thing, is I try really hard not to be angry or to make decisions off of anger, but I'm gonna be honest, like, the reason I haven't been posting videos lately is because the videos I want to do, they're coming from a place of anger. They're coming from me being very upset with my dad and wanting him to feel a little bit of shame and embarrassment for the stuff that he's done to his kids. But I don't know if that's coming from a healthy place, so I'm gonna have to talk to my therapist about it before I decide to make a video about things about my dad. I think order members who hate their lives feel even worse when they see someone happy with the life they're too scared to pursue. That's a good point. Like, can you imagine? I think about this all the time, how me, Cammie, and Rachel chose not to listen to my dad and chose to leave and live our life, versus there's two sisters in the First Wife's family who chose to take everything my dad said as gold. They're polygamous now. They seem very unhappy with their lives. And I look at it, and I honestly, if I was these sisters of mine that stayed, and like, let's say, okay, let me put myself in their shoes. I followed everything my dad said. I married my first cousin. I have children with him. He's maritally raping me. I'm paying rent to him, having children with him. I would resent my dad for making me do that. I probably would have more hate in my heart for my dad for being like, wow, this is what you wanted me to do, and now look at my life. I'm miserable. I think about my sisters in the order all the time. Like, I hope one day they see the light and they get out. But if they stay, they will never know what it's like to truly be in a loving marriage, to have kids have a present father in their life, to be in a life where it's not so negative. Like, there's so much negativity and so much hurt feelings. Like, anyway, and I saw it because I was there, but I also heard more after I left about things that happened behind closed doors to these women, and it's just really upsetting. So yeah, I do think that it's crazy to think that us, Cammie, me, and Rachel, who got out and are living our own lives, get to make our own money. Rachel's a civil engineer now. Cammie has a bachelor's degree, like, doing their life the way they want, moving wherever they want. Cammie has a house. She's owning a house right now. Rachel's gonna be buying one probably within the next year. Like, Cammie's now finding her true religious beliefs and going to church and finding her true love of Christ, like, in the way that she wants. Like, and that's no thanks to dad, you know? It's like looking at the difference between us who chose to not follow everything that dad says, and then the ones that chose to follow. It's like kind of a sad picture to think, wow, like, that's really sad. And sometimes I wonder if my dad is ever like, oh, whoops. Or if he's like, well, you two are gonna make it to heaven, so just suck it up till you die. Like, it's really sad. I just don't understand how any parents could watch their kids go through so much and not even bat an eye. Or even watch their kids go through so much and be the reason why they're going through so much. Jay Snow, you're at a restaurant. I loved your painting. Jennifer's the one that bought my last painting. If you see the tree art in the background of any of my last lives, she bought it, and I actually started to like it so much that I'm kind of this one back here is something that I'm kind of recreating because I really liked hers. I'm gonna make it different, but I love the color scheme, and I really hope you like your art, Jennifer. Amanda, what is your favorite food to eat on a hot day? Probably an iced oat milk latte. One of the LeBaron family knows Tom Green. I don't know. Tom Green did pass away. And it does seem like all of the polygamists kind of know each other, right? You once said you thought the Kingstons have a black ancestry. Can you explain why you think that? Also, have you ever taken a heritage DNA test? I did take a DNA test. And multiple people from the order took DNA tests, and there's been a few cases where the DNA test came back as 2% African American. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's where that comes from. And then also just like people doing like the history, like going all the way back to like the bull name and then beyond. But I wasn't there, so I don't know. And again, I don't know how accurate DNA tests are. And the order just wants to believe that we're direct descendants of Christ, which would mean we would have to have Middle Eastern blood, wouldn't it? And they also believe Christ is like white. It's so funny that like the order members still believe that. Its logic is not there when you're in a cult. It's just not. Hello, Autumn. Autumn's here. I hope you did well on your final. I would like to know what number child the person is in their family, their mom and dad, and what number child they are for just the dad when the people are being interviewed. I tried to do that in my interviews. I know that Eskel didn't want to do that with the secret interviewer because then it would give away who that person was. But people found out really fast. I can't imagine having to basically be a single mom but have no control over my or my children's existence. Every time I think about it, my brain short circuits. I know. And it's like, that's all they know though. So it's like, even me though, being in the order, I remember thinking like, I could probably handle being in the order forever, but I could not watch my kids go through this. I could not put my kids through this. And they weren't even born. I didn't even have any kids. And I loved them more than myself, apparently, because I wasn't willing to leave 100% for myself, but if it was meaning that I could protect my future kids, then I would do it. Really loving the podcast. Every episode has been great. Aw, thank you. I'm still trying to figure out the sound. If you can tell, this time the sound is like different than the last because I was trying to edit it. I'm not good at it. I'm still trying. I'm going to just get a new microphone, but I really enjoyed the podcast too. I'm going to try to get a little filming studio so that we can have the footage on YouTube and then the audio on the podcast. But I'm glad you guys like it. It's definitely been a more casual thing, but I like it. If they hate watch, they most likely have dissonance, and that's a good start to healing. Dissonance? Define dissonance. Lack of harmony among attention or clash resulting from, okay. So maybe they're having their own questions in their brain. Honestly, if you've made videos on lighthearted topics, we would all still watch. It may be a good idea to just take a breath. That's the thing that I'm realizing I really should do that. I think my next podcast episode is going to be a more light and fluffy one because I've been noticing my therapy sessions have been helping, but they're also, I'm going through a lot in therapy and my mental health is a little bit declining because I keep talking about these really hard things over and over and over again. But I think it's also helping me heal in the long run. Oh, thank you for the hearts, you guys. Cammy and Eskel are here. It's generational. Their parents did it, they did it, their children are doing it. Yeah. How do you break the cycle, though, is to constantly self-reflect and ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Amanda, what do happen if what? If you spoke Chinese to order people, then they wouldn't understand you. Press the like button. Oh, thank you, Adrian. Just got off work. Glad I was able to catch this live. Oh, glad you were too, Nicole. Wow, 33 children and only 2 daughters will make it to heaven. I imagine even the order thinks he cut. It's kind of a failure, right? Only 2 of his daughters are gonna make it into heaven. But I mean, sometimes I wonder if my sisters from the First Wives family watch my YouTube, and I hope that if they do, I hope that they think about the fact that, you know, the order is heaven on earth, and are you happy with the version of heaven on earth that you're living right now? Because that's what they believe you're going to be living in heaven. Do you want to live all eternity like that? Also, do you want your daughters to go through what you're going through right now? And if the answer is yes, ask yourself why. Why do you want to do to your daughters what dad did to you? And why would Heavenly Father want that? Just ask a lot of whys. How come? Have you ever had chocolate covered coffee? Yes! I never have them in the house because they're always gone as soon as I buy them. Amanda, there's a package for Jacob at your P.O Box. Oh, thank you. Eskel, you want to check the P.O Box? I left my P.O Box key for Eskel since it's in Utah. I bet the order loves the recent news about abortions. Oh, yeah. They were the type that I remember them saying you shouldn't even be wearing condoms because that's like an abortion. It's like, what? Hi, Flicker Fade. Hi, Amanda, sending love and hugs. Thank you. How long after you leave the order or polygamous groups do they stop trying to... Dang it. It refreshed. How long after you leave the order or polygamous groups do they stop trying to get you to come back? For women, they try to get the women to come back because they can bring more kids. I feel like when men leave, they don't try as hard. It's more of the family trying to be like, please come back so that our reputation isn't tarnished because you left. Because when you have a family member leave, that means they're less close to God, right? Because if their family's falling away from the church, then they get a worse reputation, which is also why Paul tries to act like none of his kids leave. When Paul has the most kids that have left, because he also has the most kids. But yeah, Chanel even was talking about how when they found out, so Chanel left and she got pregnant. And for a while there were so many mean things and mean rumors going around about Chanel that weren't even true. And then when they found out that Chanel was pregnant with a girl, all of a sudden they were being nice and wanting her to come back. Interesting. I don't know the order men, but yet I find myself angry with them and really disliking them. I'm sure if you met them, you would feel that way too, even more. Anyone have a link to the podcast or know where to find it, the name of it? It is called the Culty Crew Podcast, and it's on Spotify, but I also try to post all the episodes on YouTube. I only have 4 episodes out right now, but if you go to my channel, you can watch the last episode, Michelle Ava. It was the video posted right before this one. Culty Crew Podcast. I'm trying to get it on different podcasts platforms, but right now I just have so much on my plate that that's probably going to be in like a week or 2 that I can figure that out, like on Apple Podcasts and the other platforms. Talk about what you like to do and your siblings in your podcast, maybe. I think my next episode, I actually really want to talk about my adopted family too, and like the differences between growing up in the order and then living in a different family's house, and how different that was, and how it was so uncomfortable at first, because it was like, I always thought that I owed something. I still, when I will go over and visit, I'll be like, I feel like I owe them so much because they've done so much for me. But it's because in the order, it's like you basically are a slave for them, for your family, right? Even like you have to live your entire life for the order. Don't ever leave, even if you would be happier on the outside. Don't leave, because then we cut you off. A painting podcast could be fun. Could it? Because don't you have to see the paint? Sounds fun in theory. Hi, Cami. Congrats on your house and finding solace in faith again. It takes time. Aww. You're so sweet. Is Cami on here? Rachel, Eskel, and Cami are on here. Hello. Is Abigail here too? Wow, it's like a whole family reunion. Do you grandkids think it was a little easier to leave because your mom wasn't born into the group? What do you guys think? I think that it was easier to see the things that were wrong with the order having a mom that wasn't born in the order, because she even was like, this is weird. and we would be like, it is. But it was still really hard to leave, and I think because my mom wasn't born in the order, that's why she wouldn't cut us off. But the ones that were born in the order, it's so much easier for them to cut their kids off because that's all they know. My mom was like, I don't want to cut my kids off. But obviously she's like, I always felt like my mom was bipolar, but it was really just because she has this version of herself that gets to be a part of her kids' life and be happy and just be a mother. And then there's this part that's like, I have to go to heaven, I have to protect my kids from going to hell, and I need to shame them for not doing what Paul wants. It's like you have like a split personality at that point, where one of you wants to be a good mother and the other one wants to go to heaven. You can't do both, I guess. I would love to know more about your adopted family, not specifics about them, but how you found them and the experience of finding a new family. I really want to interview my adopted sister Tessa and do like a podcast episode and just have you guys meet her, because it's so crazy how when we met, it was like from day one, and we stayed friends from 13 years old. I believe we were 13 to now. And she's like one of those friends that I can go months without seeing her and then we can pick up where we left off. Her family too, like I just feel like they'll never know how much they really affected me. But I would love to do an interview with her, but it's because I've been out of Utah for so long, it's hard to like get back together and like film something and have a set schedule, because it takes a good hour to get anyway, it'll happen eventually. Hey Amanda, do you know Jessica and Andrea's little sister Jennifer, the one from Escaping Polygamy who got out and then got back in and married her cousin? Yes, she's still there, and I believe she has kids with him now. And that's her life. That would be cool, but you should do one with Rachel first. An interview with Rachel? If she wants to. I don't know if Rachel wants to right now. You're putting her on the spot, Eskel. Eskel, are you going to go live after this? I'm pretty much done, because I have to go. I have a bunch of boxes I gotta move. And I want to do it all before the night falls. And then I want to be able to go live on Patreon. So if you're ready to take the microphone, Eskel, I'll turn my time over to you. We can do closing prayer. If you're having an emotional time, you should do a fun YouTube video, whatever brings you joy. I think that's a good idea. It's kind of hard to find my joy right now, though, to be honest. Not to be a downer. I will make sure I say hi to you every time I don't want you. Oh, she's talking to David. Hi, David. Is Julie here too? Hi, Julie. Hi, Carrie. Today's your sister's viewing and tomorrow's her funeral. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you going today? Okay. I am going to finish what I've started with my room. Thank you for the group therapy session, y'all. I always get emotional, but I end up feeling better in the long run. Oh, I'm glad. I feel the same way. In the beginning, lately, because I've been doing so much therapy and like hard stuff, I will sit in front of my camera for like 30 minutes before my videos, like being like, oh, okay, what am I going to talk about? What am I doing with my life? But by the end, I feel really good, and I feel really happy that I have you guys in my life. Hey Amanda, I love hearing your story. Even though I'm not from a similar background, it's very inspiring to keep pushing forward. Thank you. I think that when I first left the order, I definitely thought I was never gonna bond with anyone. No one's really gonna understand where I came from, but I'm starting to realize as humans, we have a lot more in common than differences. Does that make sense? Because we are human. We all make mistakes. I was literally talking the other day to, who was I talking to? They were saying that the only way to succeed is to fail. And I was like, that is a good point. Making mistakes is the only way to learn and succeed. So don't be afraid of living your life, being human, making mistakes, and learning from them. that's my bit of advice for today, and then you'll get a lot more advice from Eskel. He's better at giving advice than me. Okay, I love you guys. Have a great week. And a Patreon family, I'm going to try to do a Patreon live tonight. I'm going to leave my link to Patreon in the description box down below for anyone who hasn't subscribed. Emily, Amanda, you're wonderful. Remember that. Don't be afraid to reach out. Oh, thank you. Bye, Russ. Love you guys. Have a good rest of your Sunday.